One word that sums up 2020 for me is transformative.
Existential.
Inevitable.
Weird.
Crisis.
Reckoning.
The word that sums up 2020 for me is what?
Working from home is conceptually something that I think everyone sort of desires or would prefer, and in the past it's definitely something that we've been talking about.
Now it's 5:30 and as you see the newsroom is empty and our video editors are packing their computers to start working from home.
Journalists don't really have very much separation from their work and personal life in any case. And working from home kind of broke that barrier down completely.
Working from home for me couldn't have come at a better time. I was able to be around in the last few months of my wife's pregnancy and also in the first weeks of my son's life.
I did kind of discover myself. I realised I can wash dishes with one hand and write a script with the other, so multitasking has been great.
One thing that news definitely didn't need in 2020 was worse meetings, and we were able to be given worse meetings thanks to video conferencing and Zoom. Just one observation, what the hell happened to Skype?
The good thing is that it has destroyed any notions that we had of forcing people to come into offices and work. The worst thing has probably been realizing that the world can function without traditional newsrooms.
I think the best part of working from home was that I got to spend more time at home, of course, and that I developed my skills to use the apartment like a studio. And the worst part was that our craft editors had to do a lot of sound cleaning and remove the screams of my 2.5-year-old.
And people who haven't had the chance to be a homebody, my heart has been with them, and I do want to thank them for all the service and all, just everything that they've been doing for us.
Working at home, plus the imposed lockdowns, being by myself is it can be quite taxing in many ways. It's draining emotionally and can be draining spiritually.
I don't know if I'm ready to go back to the office, man. I kind of like it here.
Events that shaped 2020 for me. The pandemic, subsequent global lockdown,
The anti-racism uprising,
The 2 assassinations in Iran, General Qasem Soleimani at the beginning of the year, and the nuclear scientist right at the end.
For me personally, the earthquake in Izmir, because I got to experience a girl being rescued from the debris 91 hours after the earthquake.
A lot of significant deaths, or at least ones that touched me. Kobe Bryant, Chadwick Boseman, and Diego Armando Maradona. And then the Beirut explosion.
We had 2 wars, one in Armenia and Azerbaijan, and then another in Ethiopia, as well as border clashes between China and India. I think those stories were huge. And then lastly, Trump handing over concessions to Israel the entire year, culminating in a normalization of ties with several Arab states.
Oh, and Liverpool won the league 2020. Let's not forget that. Big Mo Salah.
I think reporting on COVID-19 has brought humility. It made us painfully aware that one can't know absolutely everything. We were all learning as this virus was exploding around the world. It wasn't just Trump who was saying that this thing was no worse than the flu.
Maybe first time in our lives we get to experience something all around the world simultaneously. I think this is a very important teaching moment for all.
It has really brought into question our way of life, how we work, commute, the environmental strain we put on this earth because of those choices that we've made, the kind of economic system that we've designed, to the state of our healthcare, the distribution of wealth, and of course the fight against misinformation.
Reporting on the coronavirus has taught me and solidified for me how dumb humanity can be. No offense.
So anyone harassing me to wear a mask, you guys are violating federal law. Do you get that?
Don't be a Karen. Wear a mask for your safety and for the safety of your loved ones. Please. This life is very, very fragile. So please reach out to your loved ones. Pick up that phone call, send a text message, and be there for the ones that you love.
What we realize is when push comes to shove, it really ended up being every nation for itself. It stays that way once the vaccines have been discovered as well. So it's a real reckoning of the capitalist system, and there are gaping holes in that system that have been exposed.
Because we have all being affected by the same thing, which I don't know how much that actually happened, or how much that's actually happened in history. I think we understand the importance of being in a collective, thinking about the collective, thinking about your neighbor, thinking about your colleagues, about the world, about your country, about your future.
Once we overcome this, once we get past this phase, the world that we live in and the way that we live our lives will actually never be the same again. And that's, to be reporting on that kind of an event, that kind of a phenomenon, is really, really strange.
The anti-racism uprisings, huge and necessary, tragic that they had to come about as the result of the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd at the hand of police, but pleased that finally millions, billions of people have seen the anger and the pain that many black people and particularly black Americans have to deal with every day of their lives.
Anti-racist protests and then protests against the protests and just a complete breakdown of authority, institution and government in general. I think America has been such a big defining factor of 2020.
What was incredible also was how it translated outside the US, how many countries followed suit, and how many people really related to what was happening in the US. I think it's quite easily one of the most pivotal moments in recent US history. At the beginning of next year, America will have its first black female vice president. I wouldn't say the two are directly linked, but there is a symbolic victory within it.
Even in the Republican Party, it's quite obvious. People are very aware that there's no way that Donald Trump can overturn this election. But are we really surprised that he's doing what he's doing right now? I mean, I'm not.
What next? The genie's out of the bottle now, so I'm concerned about what is truth, the realities that a bunch of people live in, and how the culture can kind of heal.